It is that time. No particular reason time. I got my amazing friend Yankov over to my left. I don't know what. And Kerri Lewis, and we're here to talk about anything, everything, nothing, and all the things in between. So what's going on, Yanko?
That's right. That's right. That's right. I'm still kind of like, doing my dance move.
Do you wanna be? Do you wanna be?
Yes, yes, people. It's Friday. It's no particular reason. So let's kick it off and see. Anything particular comes to mind or non particular or anything at all? I,
Yeah, please share your thoughts, anything that you got that you want us to discuss. Because as you know, if any of you have watched us for any amount of time, we're pretty open about all things. So, what about you, Yanko? You got anything you want to talk about?
I'm sure something will come to mind, not off the top of my head, like right now. But yeah, I'm kind of excited about springtime coming in, um, getting accommodated and used to the change of the time with the time zones, going
It
back
beat
to.
your ass because it beat my ass.
I
Oh my
know.
God. Yeah, even Nana woke up late, which was weird for me because he's like always up like a shot at 5 a.m. and I'm waking him up at 10 past 6. I'm like, babe, like, yeah, I was tired.
I know it's weird. The first day after the change, it was just like on the day of the change, I had to get up and work, and I wasn't feeling it. But then, as the second or third day or the fourth day, I think I got back in sync because, and this is how I know. I started waking up at 3:30 again with the new time. So that's a sign that
Wait, you wake up every day at 3:30 in the morning?
almost not every day, but like almost. And that was a thing, when your body gets, it's having to do with the circadian rhythm. I don't know if you know what that is, or
I
if you
do.
like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Well,
And I used to, and I used to use that time to meditate, because like I
yeah.
might as well just wake up and everybody else is asleep and it's kind of nice and quiet, and go within. um, if you half asleep, then that also helps you reconnect better. You still on half asleep, half awake state of, like, even hallucinating and all that stuff. Connect with visions and other things. And yeah. Morning, Bonnie.
We appreciate you being here, Bon. Yeah. I haven't gotten to the place where I wake up at 3:30 consistently. There's times I have pockets of time where I wake up at 3:30, but no, I'm a 5, 6 type of girl. And then this past week I've been sleeping until 8 and I'm loving it.
I mean, and there is this, I don't know, change of weather too. We had a couple of days that was like really, warm outside, even to the point where it feels hot for like people wearing shorts and all. So
I
I
know
can
Nana
I
and
can't
I are
wait.
manifesting it being amazing weather this Sunday because we're in our parade.
Oh, that's right. Do you want to share some of your excitement of like what are you guys going to be doing?
Well,
Because
we're
I know you mentioned
celebrating
it last
the
year.
Irish roots of everybody, and we wanted to make it super inclusive. So we have music and people of all backgrounds, dressing up in different characters, cosplay characters, and we're gonna be walking on Park Ave and throwing out candy and really fun stickers that we created. So that's gonna be a good time. Really, it's just about bringing joy. The more I do the work I do, the more I am connected, the more I realize we don't have to overthink anything. The better you feel, the more you attract great things into your life. And so, what do you need to do to tap into that joy? And that's what Nana and I do. That's what we did last weekend. We had karaoke and tons of people showed up. showed out to sing. They were in characters. It was just such a good time of all different walks of life. Some people drink, some people don't drink, some people, are into, cosplaying, some people aren't. And really just we love to create vibes where people can feel included, be themselves, know they're welcomed, and have a good time. And that's what we're doing this weekend. I'm super, super excited.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, I love it. The reason I was asking is because last year you guys had such a great time, and there were some plans going in the background. You're like, wait until you see next year what we have planned on, and and that's why I was like, let me see.
Well, Nana and I have never been into in a parade before. I decided I wanted us to be part of the parade because last year we ended up in the parade unintentionally. Like we weren't part of the parade. We just ended up in the parade because I think Nana was just dressed as Vegeta, but don't quote me because I'm not anime literate like him. And so I happened to witness all these people responding to Nana's costume, and I'm like, oh my God, that's a wrap. That's going to be so much fun. So that's what we're doing.
Wonderful. I can't wait to see how that's gonna go out for you guys.
Yeah,
You
you know
know,
what? I'm going with the flow. I'm going with the flow. That's you know.
the photos, just looking at the photos and the great time you guys have, even after the birthday party and everything, that brings me joy, and I'm sure that brings other people joy too. Like looking at all the goofiness and all the fun and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just seeing people connect with each other. There's such a I don't know. It's you got to be in the experience to appreciate it, but there's just such joy and love and just ah, it's really it's fun to watch. It's really fun to be a part of. So, Nana and I love to put together events where people can come and just be themselves and feel seen and not judged because I think that's truly the gift that when you love yourself, you give to other people. You just accept them where they're at and don't have expectations of them being anything that they need to be.
Right. Well,
To Allison, we talk about anything and everything. What do you want to talk about? I will say I was yeah, I'm gonna keep it real. My ego kicked in. I was kind of pissed off today. We're an app. I won't say the app because whatever, but a neuroscientist created this app to help people with shifting their vibrations into love, which I love. Love, 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 guys. You and I always talk about, Nan talks about, all of us talk about joy, like being in high vibration. But what pissed me off about this app was the sales pitch was if you want to avoid dealing with spiritual psychosis when working through Kundalini energy, blah, blah, blah. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, click. And I'll tell you why. Because anytime anyone uses a fear-based tactic, which this app knows better because they literally have the fucking map of consciousness as one of their advertising tools, right? Fear at the bottom, and they're using fear to try to drive people to purchase their app. I take issue with that because for me, you either know better and are dismissing it, or you really don't know what it is you're teaching in the first place. Those are the two things for me, right? That because I have a responsibility. I really believe this, and so don't you, Yanko, because you know this, that if we know love is a much more powerful vibration, my job isn't to make you work with me out of fear. I don't care if you work with me. My job is to share with you how to get back to love so you're empowered and you do what feels right for you, not you're manipulated into believing you have to work with me or anybody else. And Yo, I was feeling some type of way this morning, Yanko. It's hot.
I was gonna say I didn't see this coming, but I'm glad you brought it up because I see kind of the same thing going around, and especially that more and more people are having awakening to spirit and starting to fill into energies, and there could be a lot of misunderstandings about like kundalini energy, other energies like emotions. Everything is just, and everyone it's yeah, selling their thing. Same as some people were saying, like if you go to India, there's so many gurus now, you don't even know who's genuine from fake in sadhus and
Well, look
everything
at
else.
let's I mean, you really want to get into the weeds of it. Look at scripture. Honest to God, you can measure scripture and figure out how powerful it is using kinesiology. Like and there are verses in all theology texts that are pretty profound and powerful because if it's true, your muscles will respond to truth. They will, because we're part of nature. We respond to the vibration of it's love, but a lot of it is misinterpreted or constructed from the ego, and the ego naturally operates in fear, so it doesn't hold truth to it. And that's why, for me, I'm gonna tell you right now, and I operate in ego, so I'm not above anybody else. But if I'm going to take an action, I always ask myself, am I coming from ego? And there are a lot of times that I am, guys. Like I'm not perfect. And then I don't take action at all because I am not one putting that energy out into the world because then I'm responsible for the energy coming back to me, and I don't want to deal with that shit. And two, I know that I'm not coming from truth. I just know it. And so I don't judge myself. I'm aware of it. And I go do something to ground myself into peace, connection, and joy. And then if it feels good, maybe I'll reach out. But if it doesn't, I just forget it. Like I've moved on. It's obsolete because I'm unbothered.
I mean, the first thought I had when you said that was like maybe whoever did it use or relied heavily on AI to come with that stuff and do the marketing, and maybe that's why it did the way it did. But it's kind of like that. In It's our job to use our discernment in every situation. That's what I was gonna say. I encourage everybody not to follow the crowd or the hype or whatever that is. Just check with yourself and see if it really resonates. I mean, and if you're curious, like I am, sometimes I go and I watch the advertisement and I do everything just because I'm curious. I want to see. But like you said, it if it feels like it's in fear, I'm like, nah, like it doesn't resonate. It could resonate to somebody else.
I That act could be amazing. It could, but if you're trying to get me to buy into it using fear tactics, you've already lost me because that, I don't know. Whatever. But to your point, Yanko, discernment is huge. But I also, even last week, I was talking to somebody and I wanted to take them into exercise, bring them down into this present moment.
Mm,
I couldn't Like they couldn't even let go enough to drop into their body. They were in their
yeah.
head. And then anybody
Mm.
who's wondering what that is like if you can if you're really aware, you're aware of whether people are present in the moment or in their head. You just are. Like there's just indicators.
I mean,
And
they can be present. Yeah, go ahead. I know.
yeah,
Tag
go
into
ahead.
the end. Now, I was gonna say they could be present, but use it as a manipulation tool. Give you an example that I experienced on the Mind Body Spirit Expo this past weekend. If you want to hear it,
Yeah.
I'm just walking in. This one of the vendors had an assistant or somebody that locked eyes with me, and I just kind of smile. And she came over and said, "Oh, hey, we're doing this and that." And I said, "All right." So I start like, you know, i- being present and like looking of like how she's talking and everything, and looking at where the conversation goes. And I'm sensing this like presentness, but mostly like kind of trying to intrude and almost like dominating kind of way of like, I'm gonna tell you all about this and that. And I was just like, okay, okay. And then at the end, I said, all right, I'll see you later or whatever after her pitch finished. And she was totally present because she was present, like
Yeah,
communicating,
I get it.
looking in the eyes and everything. But like the stare, it was just hypnotic that she used. And then in the end, she used a direct command when she said, "You'll come back." And I said, "Sure, I will." And I laughed and I moved, with my buddy. And I said, "Look at this. I can't believe that somebody in an expo will use people that are suggestible, be present, but use it as a manipulation technique or to give them direct instructions or commands to come back and buy in or whatever they're selling and doing all that stuff." Which kind of fascinated me, but also disappointed me because like I don't know. I mean, if you're in this mindset of like oneness and everything, there'll be no need to dominate anybody or control or do any of that stuff. And here we are in this expo, and we're doing exactly that thing.
But it goes back to discernment, Yanko, and that's something I love that you said is, yes, there are more people who are awakening to energy. Like they're recognizing. Um, and the practice is coming. Your body will tell you everything you need to know. Your
Yep.
body will tell you before your brain because we're part of energy, right? Like think about how many animals like avoid you because they dogs like certain people, don't like other people. They don't make up a story. They just don't fuck with you. Same with babies. I love babies. They're like, you're not, calm. I'm staying away from you. And so my encouragement for people is to honor what feels right for you and who the fuck cares. Like, but so many people are still so reactive. They're so they're so in their head and out of touch with their body. They're so in their thinking
Exactly.
cycle, so in their
Yep.
conditioned
Yep.
behaviors that they're so disconnected from their body, and it makes it more challenging. We always have intuition. We can always discern, but it makes it harder to take the action that discernment's telling you to do because your mind will fight it because it's just used to being in control. And that's
Yeah.
why right before this show, I was having a conversation with an individual and I said, the practice simply because this is the other thing I see a lot, right? And I read this and I didn't understand it for many years, but I got it now. You can sit in meditation morning and night. You can drop into the present moment, but if you can't apply presence in all areas of your life, then you're still not peaceful. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, I'm going
Yeah.
to give a real life example. First off, hi, Mimi. Hi, beautiful. We love you. Over there in Abu Dhabi, we're sending you mad positive energy, knowing that you were surrounded with love and light because you are, and you're all beautiful souls. But anyway, you're outside, you're soaking up the sun. You feel the rays, the wind blowing across your face. You just feel so connected with the rustling of the leaves. You feel it. The dog's walking. You feel the tug of the leash. And then you walk home and your daughter's dirty sock is on the door and you flip the shit. What the fuck, my kid? Right? You literally are just in your head now. You've lost all presence and you're reactive. And so the point of practicing breath work and meditation and just pausing into the moment, whatever it is, listening to music, being still, dropping into your body, sounds, it doesn't really matter because there's a plethora of ways to do it, is to be able to bring that presence to all experiences and then respond rather than react, to witness rather than like immediate feel like you have to, hab- habituate, right? React from a habit or a pattern that you've existed in previous times where you've had that same experience. And so that's why, again, I think it's really important for people to start to recognize that and just practice dropping into the present moment.
I mean, I think it's maybe a byproduct of people disconnecting from their emotions and therefore not feeling the body because they don't want to feel hurt ultimately. And
A
it's kind
hundred
of like
percent.
a safety mechanism where you're not wanting to feel anything, and then you get numb to a part where you don't even feel the body, and there's the disconnect between mind, body, and we're not even talking about spirit in the
Yeah.
triangle, and yeah, but there is the space in between. And I always like to ask people when I ask if they meditate or if they don't meditate, like how they meditate, because there's so many different ways that people think they meditate, and that's not really meditation. It's mostly visualization or some kind of fascination or some kind of like future imagination or whatever, not even being in the present. But the actual goal of meditation, it's to sit with what is, like thought, feelings, whatever arises, you just sit with it. And in a way, you train your nervous system also to be okay with that. And when you do that, like you said, you don't have to react like in the first time. If something happens, your system knows that you're fine, safe, whole and complete, and it doesn't need to protect you and jump in and be like, oh, very little thing, or you're not on the edge, because you practice the whole thing of just being present in the moment, just being okay with what is, not having to change a thing, maybe just observing it.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
hundred percent. It's so interesting because I was with my daughter yesterday. She turned 18 and she wanted to get a tattoo. So I'm sitting in the tattoo parlor and I'm talking to the tattoo artist who's 28 and, you know, has done a lot of work on herself for sure. But she and I were having this conversation around not having expectations. And she's like, "Well, not having expectations, and then you never get your needs met." And I was just laughing. I'm like, "Well, that can be your truth, but I have to tell you, my needs are met, and I don't have expectations because in not having expectations, all my needs are met." But again, that takes it's taken me years, and sometimes I still forget, but every time I come back to peace and I know that it's just going to unfold the way it's meant to unfold and all is as it should be, it works out in divine order because to your point, we are safe. We're whole. Like we are spiritual beings having a human experience.
I mean, that might come in from just relying on the mind too much. And um, the first law of economics is that people have unresolved needs, or or whatever their need. Like if you want to sell somebody something, you play it in a way that the mind was going to want it, and it comes down to that. Is it really something that you need? Is it really a need, or you're just like reacting out of um, testosterone or adrenaline or whatever hormones are going, or whatever is triggered in your mind in that moment, or whatever somebody is telling you, whoever way it's painting it to be, because in reality you don't need much. Like, you have shelter, food, safety, health for the body, and it doesn't you don't really need per se the latest and greatest phone, or you don't really need a lot of things. But I can talk about myself for that experience. I don't know, some people might have different things that they think they need.
Well, I think you have, I mean, listen, you're talking to somebody who for many years had to buy the latest and greatest, so I get it. It's just a dopamine hit. Like the reality is a lot of people are under the belief that the latest and greatest whatever, clothes, phone, blah, 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 is gonna fill that void in them. Like they feel disconnected. And so they're constantly looking for that dopamine hit. When ultimately the only thing that's gonna satisfy that is connecting with yourself and getting curious, because then all that stuff starts to fade away. And interestingly enough, I just put a quote up in my Facebook, which was, people will think you're crazy when you can no longer be manipulated. And it's true, because a lot of people, to your point, going back to that expo story, are easily manipulated. But if you tell them that, they're like, no, nobody can manipulate me. And I'm like, I know you believe that, and that's okay. But I bet that if I observed you in any given day, there is some part of you that's easily manipulated.
They even sell it as scores for salespeople.
Oh yeah.
Like you can go and tell you, like, oh, if you use this certain language, the person will react this way, and or you can build trust a certain way, or you know, ask him for favor or whatever, or give him a favor like a gift or whatever, and then they're gonna feel like they owned you and they're gonna follow. And there's all kinds of tricks, and there's a lot of books about that too. Um, but yeah, you don't really need to do any of that. Like,
Neurolinguistic programming is the entire premise of programming. And that's the thing, guys. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm versed in neurolinguistics, right? But ultimately, what I say, there's a reason I do no advertising. I got rid of my website. I want to attract energetically the person that for whatever reason, can impart love on. That's it. And every so much of it's programming. And so that's again where I encourage people, do what feels good for you, even if logically it doesn't make sense. The more you do that, the more you trust this part of you rather than this part. Because a lot of the choices that I've made in my life, logically, people have said, you're going to fail, you're crazy, that's stupid. But I never listened to that. I listened to this. And as a result, I learned myself more deeply. And I learned myself to the point where I know what Yanko, through experience, says is true, that we don't need much. And even then, like, without food, without shelter, if we're not meant to have that, we will not have that, and then we'll just have a new experience in a different way, and that's it. But that took me a long time to come to, and all I just encourage people to do is start to listen to their heart rather than their head, because your head will try to keep you closed off and separate, and your heart will open you up and expand you into greater understanding, greater experience, greater knowing, and then ultimately truth, real truth.
yeah, you don't need to do a thing because you don't exist in a way. And the reason I'm saying this is because a certain time in your evolution or somebody else's, the body will go a change that happens automatically. That it's going to give you the illusion of like, that you're doing it, but it's kind of like it happens on its own. Kind of like how the butterfly goes to metamorphosis to become a butterfly. So in a way, everything else is just a mind game. Whatever your mind tells you is just entertainment. It likes to jump from thing to thing and have all kinds of excitements and other things. And you don't have to take my word for it. You can sit down, close your eyes, and wait for a little bit to see what your mind's going to throw at you. And I'm sure it'll say this is boring, you need to be productive, many other things. This is waste of time, let's do something interesting, because the mind likes to be entertained. It likes to have some kind of something to do, so, to go in, rabbit holes, to research, to do things, to feel like it's in control.
100%.
So yeah.
But
um
I think that's
yeah,
part
go
of
ahead.
human experience. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, guys. It's just, you know, my contention is learn to see beyond that. And then when you do sit there and entertain yourself, you're not attached to it. And that's it. It's like non-attachment. So when we think about Buddhism, it's not exactly like, it's not that you don't give a fuck. It's just, it doesn't matter. It's like I sit
Well,
here
you're part
or
of,
something.
yeah.
You don't create a judgment around what's going on in your mind.
Right, you're disconnecting that, and it's just like an observer, and it's good to be using an instrument to do logical work like math and other things, um, but not really to take it as the controller and run with it. And the other thing that I was going to talk about, it's energy exchange. Like you said it many times. Whatever you put your energy to, it's going to come true. Like if you put it in research, it's going to come with the researcher. Whatever way you send that energy, it'll come back and work the magic. So, and this is why manifestation works for some people, because they put their mind to a certain thing and they get the thing, um, and only to find out that that's not the thing that they really wanted. They unknowingly wanted to be complete, and they were searching for that part that they thought there was missing, but it's not really missing. It's always been there. They're just looking at the wrong place.
Well, I argue that though, because I love contrast. And this is in my own world, guys. Like, I love contrast because when I manifest something, sometimes I'm like, "Ooh, that was amazing." Sometimes I'm like, "Ooh, that was shitty." Ooh,
Yeah.
I did. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I see what I did there. And so there's nothing right or wrong, good or bad. It's just an experience. It gives you information and you can decide to let it go or keep it. It doesn't ultimately matter. I know that Yanko and I are very on the same page in terms of my understanding is that I want for everybody else to know truth too, which is your unconditional love. Like, you're enough. You were created by creation. You don't have to change. You don't have to perform. You don't have to be anything but who you are in this moment. And that can feel hard because if you're quirky or weird or by definition of somebody else you feel rejected, but the reality is get rejected, because if you're rejected, that just opens up space for other people who vibe with your weird to come right into your vortex and be like, what up? Case
Yep.
in point, going back to karaoke on Saturday, there was this girl, maybe 19 years old. She drove, I don't know how long, with her dad, had her dad drive her to see Nana to give him this present and to say, "You inspire me." And you know why? Because Nana is just unapologetically weird. He does whatever makes him happy in that moment. If he was sitting here and he wanted to, he'd lick my face. No joke. Or whatever. We just do. But yeah, there's some people like, oh my God, that's so gross. How could you? And that's fine. My job isn't to tell you you're wrong, but it doesn't bother me. And so, and because of that, we attract people who want to be part of our weird. And and that's where you're like, okay, I don't have to be different. I don't have to put on a performance. I don't have to act a certain way in order to be accepted or enough or be loved. I just have to be what feels good for me in this moment.
You just have to be present. That's pretty much it. If you're in the moment, and that's it. And from there on, you can be anything you want to be, literally. You can take any role because you're present. Whatever you're going to do next is going to be a role you're playing. So either you're going to be the character, or you're going to be the entertainer, or you're going to be the host in the party, or whatever role you want to take it. Then that's the fun part. You take the role and you're playing the role. So you can twist it any way you want to and make it even more fun.
100%. I agree. But I will say, I do want to circle back one more time, because for me, this is really important for people to understand. Guilt and shame, fear, apathy, pride, they're all very low energetic vibrations. It's a dense energy. And if you sit and take on that story that you need to feel guilty, that you need to be afraid, well, you ultimately have to have experiences to feed that belief, right? And it feels really heavy. It feels because it's close to ceasing to exist. It's really dense energy. And so might you at least get angry? I freaking love pissing off my clients. Like, no bullshit. People I work with love it, because at least they're willing to take action, which is courage. And courage is a higher vibration. So if you feel if you're like, you just getting up and you're just getting along with your day, might you consider giving yourself permission to, I'm going to be courageous and brush my teeth with my left hand instead of my right. It may seem trivial, but believe it or not, the very act of change is a choice that will then inspire a new action. It doesn't have to be this great adventure. It's just small, different choices is courage, higher vibration, which will allow you to attract to yourself different experiences, which then you start to get to more awareness, and in awareness you hold the power.
Yeah, it just I don't know. If people are too much in the head, they're not even going to be at the point where they're going to be able to discern the density of energies, or
Oh, I know.
discern of like any energy, or even read the room. Like when you get in, you can just get a readout like right off the bat. I had an experience when certain thing inspired, and after it was done, I left the room, and when I came back, the whole room felt still like it felt dense. And everyone cleared out.
You know what's interesting? When I wasn't aware, I was fucking hella good at my job in opening, like, in changing the culture of stores. What I didn't realize was, in every store I went into, I was super excited. Like I brought this passion to have an experience that felt good for me, and that inspired other people to have passion. And so when I left that store, the environment changed. Now, is that saying it was all me? No, but it was like the excitement, it was the energy.
Yeah. Collective.
And what I didn't realize at the time was people can suck the shit out of your energy too. Like, if you don't know, right? Like, it's a give and take. And so, yeah, like, to your point, I now read a room, and this is where I'm very I'm like, I'm not gonna make up a story, but this ain't my vibe. I'm leaving. I'm out. I don't even need to understand. I'm like, bleh. Or I can walk into a room and I'm like, oh, this is a vibe. We gonna go. Let's go. And that's just how it is. And going back to, and I really want people to understand this, Nana and I read each other's energy so well. Like, that we don't even have to have conversations. Like, I can not be in the same city as Nana, and I know that he's having a day, and I just will reach out to him, and he's like, you feel I'm having a day? And I'm like, I just want to say I love you. And that is where you get super tuned, and that's why it's just, again, to Yanko's point, you don't have to do anything except for be present. But if even feeling energies feels like a really woo woo concept, that's okay. You don't have to. All you have to do is feel your skin, and then give yourself permission to, what is your skin like, really think about how the skin feels, what it feels like to touch it. That's presence. It's all you have to do. And the more you give yourself permission to drop into this present moment, all the stuff that Yanko and I talk about each week will start to unfold, because you're giving your brain permission to open up to new understanding. But if you tell yourself everything they're saying is stupid and that's not right, you'll never, ever understand it, at least in this lifetime. At some point, you're coming home no matter what. So sorry, but not sorry. But if you don't give your brain permission to at least be open to a new possibility, it will not be open to that possibility.
I mean, before I started to like get all that stuff, I've been very analytical, in the mind. And that's why I don't have to convince anybody or tell them that that's how it is, because I had the experience. Nobody
Yep.
had to, like, people try convincing me and telling me this and that. And I was like, no, 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 no. But in my case, there was total disconnect with emotion, mind, body. There was disconnect. There was no feeling, kind of closed down. You don't want to be hurt, all that stuff. So, I mean, I'm not even gonna attempt to convince anybody. Give it a go. See,
But
that's
you
why.
can't. Like, but that's it. You know what? One of the greatest books I ever read was this book. In the beginning of the book, it's a spiritual book, said if you take this book as law, you've already lost the point of reading the book, because the whole purpose of the book was to give you permission to give yourself experiences, because then and once you know, and that's where my quote saying, people will think you're crazy when you can't be manipulated, because once you know, there's no way that somebody's going to tell me that I didn't experience what I experienced. It's like people who have near death experiences, right? They die, have an experience with oneness, and then come back. You're never going to convince them that they didn't have that experience. And the same holds true with what me and Yanko share with you. I share because I believe that, because me and Yanko were very unconscious. I was type A personality, just like Yanko, logic driven. I need to have quantifiable data, information. And, I had to think through a problem to its nth degree, right? And, but when I started to give myself permission to open up to new possibilities, I started to have experiences that kept leading me into these knowings. And so now there's nothing that I can be told by anybody that would convince me that what it is I have experienced is right or wrong. That's true. But I do want other people to feel the freedom of knowing that, because it is so, so important to know that. And if nobody's ever told you, and if you live, remember, if we manifest what we believe, and if you believe fear based reality, then most people in your life are fearful. That has to be the situation. So, Yanko and I are just trying to give you a new perspective to consider trying something new, and then you have the experience for yourself.
Not even that. If you're living in fear, your mind or subconscious mind, it's gonna attempt to resolve those problems when you sleep. So you're gonna have nightmares. You're gonna continue to torture yourself. You don't have to do any of that. Um, and then on the point of like the oneness, just because you forgot that you're part of the oneness, it doesn't mean you can't have the experience, or you have to have a near death experience to remember that you're part of the whole. um, just being present will allow you to expand, and not expand, that's the wrong word to use, to fill it in, and not putting boundaries around you or limiting yourself to this or this or the body or whatever that is. you have the experience, and you'll know without a shadow of a doubt in your mind that you're part of the whole. You're not a separate being.
100%.
So, but in order to have the experience, you have to have the duality and separate yourself from yourself so that you can have conversation with yourself and think that you're not a crazy person. That's so good.
But you can think you're a crazy person. It doesn't matter. I love it. I'm
Well,
like,
well, no, I'm saying like you're just having a different body because it's you interacting. That's like the droplet thinking that it's different from the wave, and the wave thinking that it's
yeah,
going somewhere and it's different from the ocean. It's all the same thing. It's just having a different experience and three different levels. The ocean, it's ocean. The waves are there. The waves are thinking they're going somewhere, but they're basically just an illusion of like the water rising up and down. And then if you go even on a lower level, there's the droplets of the water thinking, it is me. I'm making it happening. I'm part of the wave. So when you look at it that way and you see the whole creation and everything, it's like you're like, if this is you and this is also you, because it's also part of the whole body you, then this having conversation with this could be crazy because it's all you, but they're having their own conversations. That's what I meant.
yep, 100%.
Yeah. Sorry.
Right.
I
No,
went on a
no, you're,
tangent.
you're good. I was just literally watching, like when you were talking, your shirt started to like pixelate, and it was really fun to watch. It was like, I don't know, it's hard, like
Oh yeah.
diamonds or something going.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But yeah, as we come up on the hour, I would just again, this is this is a phrase that I share with people. I share it with my daughters. I share it with anybody who's take it or leave it, whatever. But the minute you say to yourself, I suspend what I think I know and I'm open to all possibilities and the highest good for everybody, right? Then you're giving your brain permission to seek new information that then you can use or not use to make a different choice. As simple as that. And the reason I say highest good for all is to Yanko's point, we are part of the collective one. We're one. And so if I harm somebody else, I harm myself. If I harm myself, I actually am harming the collective all. So if you're self deprecating, like, that's a energy that ripples out into the field of energy, and if you harm others, it's a energy that ripples out. And so if you say, I'm open to all possibilities and experiences that is in the highest good for all, then it's just love. And when you send out
Right.
love, you start to experience love. Things just happen. I left my phone at the gym that I was at last week, and I was not worried, and I had all my cards in it, and I knew that it would be turned in and nothing would be harmed with that because I know I send out love, and so love will come back to me, and it does in beautiful ways. And the more you give yourself permission to just be open, the more that will come back, and you'll feel it and you'll know it to be true.
And you're not only preaching it, but you're also doing it because you reminded me a couple of times because you don't know. Like, how do you know what's going to come out of any experience and be judgmental? You know?
Well, that's
So,
why I say
yeah.
I suspend what I think I know, and I have to do that
I know.
often.
Exactly.
Guys, I really, 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 I don't care who you are. I've been doing this work for 30, since I was 14, 31 years, and I still go unconscious all the time. And so there's no end, right? Nobody has any of this figured out. It's just honestly, what can you do to come back to having peace, like feeling calm, like where you're not contracted, you don't feel tight or tense, or you're making up stories. And you do that over and over and over again. And it's just, it's kind of like what Yanko said in terms of the wave. You ebb and you flow. You ebb and you flow, and you just go along for the ride. And the more you just are okay with it without having an expectation, the more you just things just feel good.
Yeah. And then you get to a point where your body feels good too. Because if you keep giving that signal to your body that you're whole, full, and complete all the time, it feels like the body it's joyous and filled with like no tension, there's no headaches, there's nothing. You're just like, oh, and it's a wonderful thing. Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I got
thanks, Bonnie.
you have a beautiful and blessed and joy, laughter, love filled day if that's what you want. And yeah, I'm gonna do the same.
Yeah. Well,
All I got. You want to wrap it and roll it and put it in a bow
yeah.
until next week?
Yeah. Toss it and
We're
send
gonna
it.
say goodbye to the listening audience. Don't cry, because we'll be back here next Friday at 10. And until then, be silly, weird, and find the joy that makes you you.
Love it. Thank you. I love when you end up with a song. That could be our thing going
I
forward.
love
We can
singing.
always end up with a song.
I know.
All right,
I'll
guys.
come up with a song. Bye.
We'll see you next week. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you for listening, watching. We love you. Love yourself.
Yeah.